The Pax Mongolica, Latin for Mongolian peace, describes the stabilizing effects of Mongol conquests on the social, cultural, and economic life of the people living in the vast Eurasian territory they conquered in the 13th and 14th centuries. Mongol conquest started in 1206 with the successful unification of the Mongol tribes by Genghis Khan. After this, the Mongols went on a massive conquering spree under Genghis Khan, Ogadai, and Kublai Khan, with the assistance of excellent generals such as Subutai, subjugating 9 million square miles of territory from the South China Sea in the east to the Danube River in the west, and from Moscow in the north to Persia and the Arabian Sea in the south. When the Mongol hordes invaded Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, they killed an estimated 40 million people, or about 11% of the Earth's population at the time. With less people, large swaths of cultivated fields eventually returned to forest, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and actually lowering the temperature of the planet. According to the study, regrowth of forests during the Mongol invasions absorbed 700 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere, equaling the amount of carbon global society now produces annually from gasoline. After the Mongol conquest, about 17% of the entire world, spanning from Eastern Europe to southeastern China, was under one political authority. Instead of having to worry about numerous different kingdoms and tax rates, you only had to worry about the Mongols and their trade tariffs, which made trade a lot cheaper, safer, and easier. As a result, trade was again able to flourish, and a new Silk Road was born between Europe and Asia. New ideas, technologies, and discoveries were transferred along these trade routes that led to many advancements in different economies with the exchange of things like medicine, food, music, animals, vegetables, fruits, plants, porcelain, and of course, silk. Most notably, gunpowder was introduced to Europe at this time, which had a profound effect on military and human history. During this time, Marco Polo famously went on his adventures in the Far East, introducing information and stories about China to a captivated European audience. Long distance trading meant that new ways of trade and commerce led to innovations like the first use of paper money, deposit banking, and insurance being introduced to Europe from the Far East. Islamic methods of science, mathematics, and astronomy made their way to Europe and East Asia as well. The Mongols were able to maintain and govern such a vast empire by using their version of the postal system called Yam. The Yam was a series of relay and supply stations that allowed Mongol messengers to travel at great distances. A Mongol messenger could find shelter, food, water, and spare horses in these supply stations. The Mongols were also known for being generally tolerant of other religions and cultures in their territory, as long as they were not in opposition to the goals of the ruling Khan. The Mongols employed a benign neglect foreign policy, which was generally non-interventionalist, so long as you paid your taxes and did not oppose the Khan. Ironically, the culture, philosophy, religion, and ideas of the people the Mongols conquered influenced the Mongols more than Mongol culture on their subordinates. This religious and cultural tolerance allowed a diverse array of people to coexist and connect, which also led to more discoveries and societal advancement. Though the many things that were transferred and shared along the new Silk Road benefited societies throughout Eurasia, not everything that was transported along these Mongol trade routes was good. From its origin at the eastern end of the Silk Road, the Bubonic plague traveled west along trade routes, stopping at Central Asian caravans and Middle Eastern trade centers, and subsequently infected people all across Asia. In October 1347, 12 ships from the city of Kaffa, which is situated on the western end of Mongol trade routes on the Black Sea, docked at the Sicilian port of Messina. The people at the docks, however, were greeted with a horrific surprise and a visitor that would change Europe forever. The majority of sailors on board the ships were dead, and the few that were still alive were severely ill and covered in black boils that oozed blood and pus. The authorities quickly ordered the fleet of ships out of the harbor, but it was too late, and the Black Death arrived in Europe. Ultimately, it is impossible to know the exact figures, but it's estimated that up to 60% of Europe's population and up to a third of the world's population were wiped out due to the plague. In some places, it took over a century for the population levels to return to pre plague figures. The reputation and power of the Catholic Church also declined, because of the plague, due to the perception that large amounts of people's prayers went unanswered and God was ignoring his devout followers dying a brutal death. The plague also weakened Mongol demographics as their armies were affected by it, and they were not able to exert their dominance in the remote regions of their empire, leading to revolts and rebellion. The decline of the Pax Mongolica was a result of a number of factors, including incompetent leaders, civil wars and infighting, corruptions, revolts, decadence, external attacks, and disease. The once united empire began to split into rival and warring factions called khanates. Ironically, the Mongols adopting the religions and cultures of their subjects led to them to lose some of their Mongol identity, and intolerance began to grow within the empire. This, coupled with the decentralization that occurred with the empire due to the collapse in communication and trade routes, caused the empire to splinter. The decline of the Pax Mongolica in the mid 14th century resulted in a decline of eased trade between East and West and started a period of isolation in some places like China. With brutality and lightning quickness, the Mongols were able to create the second largest empire and the largest continuous empire in history, forever impacting the people they conquered and leaving their mark on history. Thank you.